Ding, ding.
Fubble Time.
Hey, my name is Teresa Tomey.
And I am Patrick Ziegler.
And we are
Fubble Entertainment.
And this is
Fubble Time.
Pow, pow, pow.
That was a little quicker.
It was.
Does that make you happy?
What? That everything kind of went quicker?
Yeah.
It was good. It was good. I liked it. I just realized, like, when people are like scrolling through their Facebook Live, they're probably like, "Oh God," running to quick press the mute button as I scroll through.
When you're doing ding ding?
Yeah.
No, they're turning it up.
They're turning it up and dancing. That's what
I'm gonna write who's here, who's with us.
Who's with us? Well, I know somebody who's with us in the green room right now. So while you're doing that, I am going to make an introduction of Lynne Brown-Tepper. She's a native of Grand Rapids. She returned from Los Angeles, where she worked in television production, to join the staff of Circle Theater as production manager in 2000. She was appointed executive director in 2008. In addition to her work behind the scenes at Circle, Lynne has appeared on stage at Circle Theater, Civic Theater, Actors Theater. She was a member of the Withered Roots Theatre Project in Los Angeles.
We were in that together. That was with Craig Duncan and Kim. And Geraldine.
Okay. And studied at the Singers Forum and the Lee Strasberg Institute in New York. She has performed in various cabaret venues and has appeared with the Saginaw Symphony and the Bijou Orchestra. I was a stage manager once for the Saginaw Symphony. Lynne's voiceover, radio, and television work can also be heard nationally and regionally. I guess when you throw voiceover in there, that makes, and then like, she's like a quintuplet threat? What is
a quintuplet threat?
I guess that's a lot of babies. She's a quintuple threat. Anyway, please join us in welcoming Lynne Brown-Tepper.
Hey, hi, Lynne.
I like the quintuple. Yeah. I can't even say it. At least you could say it. I can't even say it.
I'm like, I think that makes you somebody who has 5 siblings all at the same age. But anyway,
that's almost a fubble word. Rebecca Durrell says, "Yay, Lynne!"
And
Becky.
And Emil's watching from LA. Oh, Joni's here.
Quinfubble. Yay.
Quinfubble. That sounds mildly inappropriate.
Oh, I just did a little quinfubble.
Joni.
Yay.
And Emil is here too. So thank you so much for joining us. We've got people from East and West and in between. So we're a mid-coastal show tonight.
You're a popular gal, Ms. Brown-Tepper.
I think it's probably you guys, not me.
No. We it's so fun having you here. I mean, we've known each other for a long time in many different ways. So
I know we all have.
Yeah. So we always kind of start out with a general question, and that is when, where, how do you remember getting bitten by the creative bug?
You know, it's interesting because I don't know if you remember this, Patrick, when we were in Withered Roots together. This came up one time in one of our meetings, classes, whatever you want to call it, group meetings. And it's funny because I had never thought about it before that time. But there's two things. And I think that I don't ever remember not wanting to. I just didn't know what it was, how to put a name to it.
Yeah.
Like I always, when other kids were listening to like the radio, I of course was listening to like Barbra Streisand and Judy Garland. So I thought
you're a gay boy inside.
I know. I was like, I'm either a gay man and I don't know it yet. Or, and then from there, that's actually how I started listening to musical theater, was Barbra Streisand. Because Funny Girl, the original Broadway recording, was one of my first albums that I got from my grandma.
Aww.
That and My Fair Lady, but I didn't listen to that as much. And then, but my first time when I thought this is it, meaning theater, was, and this you guys will know these people, and you might have heard this story before. In 1977, I was taking dance from a wonderful woman named Maria Battaglia.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she was in this production at Circle Theater in 1977 called Cabaret. That was directed by Fred Cebulski, Dwayne Davis, and Ken Tepper. And my parents, my mom in particular, was notorious for never researching anything that she took you to. Like, she took my younger siblings who couldn't even read to a foreign film, and they couldn't even read the subtitles because she heard it was good. She didn't look past that. So she's like, oh, Lynn's dance teacher's in this, we're going to go. And I still have vivid memories of Kirk Swank and Liz Dykehouse in it. And I remember the staging. But my mom said, and she only told me this probably 10 years ago, in the car on the way home, I said, I know it. I know it. And she said, what? And I said, I know what I want to be.
Oh my God.
And she was like, oh, please don't let it be a stripper or something like that. And that was it. So I always tease Fred and Dwayne and say, it's your fault.
Yeah,
it's your fault.
that's great. Hey,
and that was it. That was my first show I ever saw. And that was, I was like, I finally was able to put a word to it. Like I there was something there that I always knew, but I didn't know what it, I couldn't express it. And then when I saw it, I was like, that's it. That's it.
Nice.
And when you're watching, I mean, Francesca is joining us here from Battle Creek tonight.
Yay, Francesca.
Hello, hello. Another one of our guests who also contributed to that talent pool in West Michigan.
Absolutely.
I mean, you do get inspired by the people. I actually got inspired. I never knew you could really do it. I mean, I never understood it either. I never really made the connection, but it was my sister took me to a Circle Theater show called like Bumbles Shoot or Bumbles something. And it was, I don't know, she had a friend in it who was, they were like Tweedledee and Tweedledum or something. They were like two characters in it. And it was at the outdoor Circle Theater. And I was like, what is this? And I just realized this. I'm like, oh, that was a Circle Theater show that I remember going to the.
Yeah. It was interesting because my parents were not arts people.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't. And I asked her about that one time too, because even when I was older, before I really got into theater, and my parents had season tickets to Civic and gosh, going back for Broadway, Grand Rapids, when it was Ken Shaw Productions and stuff like that. And I asked my mom about that when we were talking about this. And I said, you guys were not arts people. Like, why did you go? And she said, well, you know, when it was at the zoo, she said, everybody went. She goes, because unless you had a cottage, there was nothing else to do. Because at that time, TV was all reruns. And she said, and it was just sort of an everyman's thing, like what Shakespeare was initially intended to be. You know, she said it was just, she goes, that's just what people did. She goes, it wasn't like we were theater people or something. But
I love that you saw that it's like a full circle thing. You saw that at Circle Theater, and now you're executive director of Circle Theater, which is really cool.
It's crazy.
Yeah, really crazy. It's wonderful. So, but it was a long journey to get from that seat watching that show to the seat in the office helping.
Oh yeah,
that show. You left Grand Rapids, right?
Mm-hmm. A couple times. I first left when I was 19. I went to New York. And my first year there, I was working as a nanny in upstate New York because I'm always like the careful person. So I had to sort of ease into it. I'm definitely oldest child syndrome. I had to kind of ease into it, study, watch, you know. And so I was there for a year and I kind of eased my way into the city. And then I was there and it was great. It was a great life experience. But honestly, and I was studied at Lee Strasberg and you know, Singer's Forum and stuff. But I think I was so green when I went. I wasn't ready. But the life experience I had there was phenomenal. It was great. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's when I met you. You were living in LA or New York. In New York.
Yeah, I was home for the summer.
Yeah. But I will never forget, there was a party and Francine and Roseanne and a bunch of people all dressed like Lynne Brown and came to the party.
Which New York?
No,
I was home visiting, yes.
Yeah.
And it was, of course, you know, if you know Roseanne, you know it was her idea. And so I walked into the party and everybody was looking at me to see and I knew they weren't waiting for me to get there, but everybody was looking at me like waiting for something. And I was like, what? Was I supposed to bring something? And I didn't know it. And then I look over there and I was like, what? And then Roseanne immediately, like, I looked at her and I was like, you.
Because that was like, I hadn't met you yet. And so we were going to go to this party and it was like, everybody's dressed in like Lynne Brown. So I already had this image and I can remember it was so 80s, like almost like those knit nylons that Madonna wore, right? Wasn't it like that?
It was so, I was in such a Madonna phase at that time, and I can say it now. But when I was leaving LA and I was putting together, finally taking all these photos from all my past years, putting them in a thing, one of our friends said to me, younger friends said, oh, were you at a costume party? Like looking at these pictures, and I said, that was my Madonna phase. It was glow orange, like day glow orange, lace ripped. I don't think I could get a brush through my hair for like at least 2 years.
Don't you wish you had all that now because it's so popular?
It's all back. I just drove down Melrose.
My daughter,
vintage is all, I'm like, oh, 80s.
That's my daughter is like, she will go to the store and she went from girly pinks and purples to not goth, but she's into all that now. And so she'll go towards that. And I was like, oh my gosh, everything does come back.
Totally. I love what's going on Facebook right now. Barb and Francesca are having a little conversation. Hey, sweetie, see my text. I'll check. They're going back and forth. I feel like we're sitting at the cottage bar.
Is it Barb Whiskey?
Yeah, I think so.
Barb Whiskey was hugely influential for me. She was my first.
Don't apologize.
Yeah, no, Francesca, we love it. Keep it going. Francesca said sorry.
No, we love it. So I'm sorry. So Barb Whiskey was
a huge influence on me, and she still is one of my all-time hands down favorite vocalists that I've ever heard. And I remember the first time I started taking voice lessons, I took for this woman I was taking piano from, and she was Kukulala. And she was having me do stuff that was really bizarre. And I remember I started kind of getting it. And Greg Sanborn said, Barb takes some students. You might want to talk to her. And I remember going in there, and Barb changed everything for me completely. Because I came in there, and first she was funny. She's like, just want you to know right now, I don't know company that well. I'm not a teacher. I'm more of a coach. And I was like, I didn't know the difference. I was like, okay. And but she was the first person to go, what are you like? Not what are you doing? But she was like, no, this is your range. This is what you do. This is your thing. This is your niche. And that's what I needed really badly. And she gave me some songs to use that I still to this day are fallback audition songs for me that, and then she guided me to Dale Streamer from there. But she was a huge influence on me, both her as like watching her on stage, but as like a mentor and a teacher. She is one of those people. I would not be here without her. Sorry, Barb.
Teresa and I keep on trying to put the.
Oh, is that what's happening? I'm like, does it keep going?
I'll let you do it then.
Okay, I'll do it.
So, on that note, Lynne, I mean, you are a quintuple.
Quintuple.
But you are such a talent. I remember when you came home for the summer and you and Tommy Boyer did Baby, and which was fantastic. And that was wasn't it from there that you went to LA or to San Francisco and started doing cabaret?
It was, yeah. I ended up doing that. I was back for a while from New York, and I ended up going, and it was interesting because I was supposed to go to San Francisco for a couple gigs, which both fell through. And then you came and rescued me.
Oh, that's great. Oh my God.
But at that time, I had somebody who I had worked with in Grand Rapids, and he said, I have a couple things. And I was sort of like, I wasn't in a relationship. Didn't have kids, and I thought, you know what, if I'm going to go try something different, now's the time to do it, because I don't really have any real obligations here, Mm-hmm. And so I thought, what the heck? So I went there, and it didn't work out there. But then Patrick was on his way to LA, or at least was thinking about moving there. And it was kind of one of those things where it was we're picking you up and we're bringing you with us. And I thought, well, you know what? I've been a gypsy already. And I think Patrick may have even said that. He's like, you're already a gypsy right now. What have you got to lose? It's just one more place that you're going to. And I had friends there, like Rodney was there and a couple other people. So I thought, yeah, why not? And it's so funny because I expected LA to be like Chicago or New York. And I thought I'm such a more of a New York person and I'm never going to like it there. And I got there and I was like, I'm digging this.
And
that's so great. Do you give that? Go ahead.
You once you got to LA, you did, you know, we did a couple of productions together. We did the parody on Titanic,
yeah,
which was just crazy fun.
It was fun. And we shared a dressing room with naked boys singing.
That's right. That's right.
We were their after act. Like we were the after act for naked boys singing.
My favorite was Matt Luth sitting there on the couch, and the two guys come from that show and they're talking to each other totally naked. One's wearing a shoulder pad, football shoulder pad. The other one's wearing like a sailor hat or something. And Matt is, you know, what's right here. And Matt's just like, and Matt's totally straight guy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I remember that very well.
Oh my gosh. So you then got involved in production.
Yeah, television, right?
And
yeah, because every time I move to a big city, I end up working retail until I get something else. But yeah, I ended up getting through our neighbor, Jason Lindsay. I'm outing him right now.
Nice.
The company he was working at, they had a job come up as an assistant / receptionist. And so I had been wanting to get out of retail. And I don't know that I knew exactly what I wanted to do, but it sounded like better than what I was doing. And it was a 9 to 5, which I wanted something more regular because everybody else I knew was doing more, you know, they'd be having fun on the weekends and I'd be going to work. So they're sitting by the pool, throwing a couple beers back, bring a TV out there, watching it, hanging out. And then I'm like, I got to go to work.
So for the people out there, Lynne moved there first. And that's how I got in, is we lived at the Starlet, which was across from Warner Brothers. They were little studio apartments, 1 bedroom furnished apartments, and then a pool in the middle. It was like Melrose Place.
Except not as nice.
No. They are now, though. They're amazing now.
Patrick's like, you got to move to the Starlet. Move to the Starlet. I was like, I'm not 20-something party, hang out with.
Well, it was always so fun because whenever somebody would move out, we'd get somebody we knew to move in.
I was the one token gay guy, and I lived in the upper corner apartment.
Upper bottom boy.
Upper bottom. So bad. So
that was Jason said that. I think that was where that came from.
So you didn't. That wasn't Suzanne DePass. I'm forgetting
that.
Her name.
I went from the first to DePass Entertainment. Okay. So I started at Pop Arts or Popular Arts.
Oh, that's
right. And then from there, I went to DePass Entertainment. And then after that, Greg Sills, who was kind of a freelance producer, I went to work for him after that, after I left DePass Entertainment.
So you got exposed to a whole different side of the industry.
Oh, yeah. And it was incredibly, I mean, I think that is what's been probably the most helpful for where I'm at now, especially when I was at DePass Entertainment. My boss she treated me really crappy. And it's interesting because I remember when I would interviewed for the first one at Pop Arts, I barely got out. When they asked me where I was from and I barely got it out, they were like, you're hired. And I was like, what? And they were like, we love people from the Midwest. They have a strong work ethic.
You still hear that today.
And it was interesting because when I went on to DePass Entertainment for that particular boss, it was a great thing. She was not easy to work with and she didn't treat me very well. It was very swimming with sharks, but I learned so much from her and about everything. And because I had to be so proactive and had to think before, anticipate what she needed before she needed it, and all that. But she was also kind of head of operations. So I had to do everything from human resources to be in charge of the runners to all this stuff. So it was a really great experience in that sense, and incredibly helpful. Sometimes your worst experiences are do the best for you.
Yeah, I remember, because Lynn and I didn't have a car. So Lynn and I used to drive in to work, and I was working at a production company that did main title designs. We worked in similar energy of the people that we were under.
Yes, we did.
Specifically, both of us, one person.
Yep.
And it was interesting because it was intense, and we would complain together, but then we would realize we were learning a lot.
Yeah.
And I appreciate what you say about you bring it into your work today. So talk a little bit about, then you left and went back to Grand Rapids. Did you immediately go into Circle Theater, or
No, I ended up doing the same. I was temping at first, and it was really funny because I was temping at this life insurance company, and they really wanted to hire me, and I was like, I would rather slit my wrist. I was just like, and the boss, he was so nice, and they were gonna train me, they were gonna have me get certified, there were gonna be all this, and I was like, oh my God.
You're a theater person. You have a personality. You've got, that is.
Yeah, I just was like, no, this was just paying my bills till I got something. And then I think it was Rodney, our friend Rodney, who said that Circle was looking for somebody. And ironically, I interviewed, and then I didn't hear anything for a long time. And then I had a second interview, and I got hired, but then I didn't. It was like in November or something, but I didn't start till February.
Oh, wow.
So I think now looking back, what they were doing was restructuring that position. And so does
that position exist today? I'm curious.
It's still part of my job now.
Is it?
Well, yeah, I have not, I'm still doing the same. I'm still doing that job and doing the executive director job. My ultimate goal would be to reincorporate that, but we could have maybe thought about that before COVID, but now it's going to be kicked down the line a little bit longer.
Because you guys were kind of cooking with gas there, right? And then
we were. It was when I ended up taking over as executive director, we were in a really bad place financially. I didn't even realize how bad off we were. And so the executive committee came to me and said, will you take over? Because if you don't, we'll have to close, because there just isn't anybody else who knows the day-to-day workings of it. So it was sort of like, I don't know if I'd say it was in the right place at the right time, because if they were going to do a job search at the time, I don't know that I would have been the ideal person. But the great thing is I could have just full disclosure and say, hey, look, I'm a producer. That's what I know. But, I don't know about this. I was started as an English major, so I can learn to do grant writing and stuff, and I don't mind that, but I'm not a development person, and I'm not this. And I think they were just so desperate at that time. They were like, I don't care, And then I was able to grow into it and stuff, but it is something I didn't aspire to. It wasn't something I wanted to do. I never thought that's my ultimate goal, is to be the executive director. I liked being, what I was doing. And I think it's because it was comfortable. I was in my comfort zone. And I think it's good to kind of push yourself, because I don't know that I would have gone for it on my own if it hadn't happened that way. Now it would be different, but I think at that time, I needed that kind of kick out of the comfort zone to kind of grow.
It's interesting because creatively you tend to push you said, well, I might as well go to New York. Well, I might as well go to San Francisco. So creatively you tended to push yourself, but professionally, is that a fair statement that it was easier to push yourself?
I think that's pretty accurate. I think, maybe it goes back to being a performer. As a performer, I tend to be a little bit more fearless than I am as an administrator. My administrative style is more mom, and that goes back to my core or whatever, where being very careful and really weighing everything and really, but it's different too, because when you're doing something creative, I feel like as an actor, especially, it's just you, but then when you're and you know this from being an administrator, then you're kind of responsible for this whole thing. So you have to be a little bit more careful and think about it. And I didn't know. I was like, for so many years when I was a performer, people would go, don't you want to direct? And I was like, God, no. You know, I mean, it's like, I have enough trouble with my own part, let alone being responsible for an entire production. And I said that, you know, recently, and somebody said, you do know, though, that you are actually a director of an organization. You are aware of that, right?
Right.
But it's different. It's still different. I still would not want to direct a show. And I admire it greatly, but I know that's one area that's not being afraid to go out of my comfort zone. That's knowing my own skill set.
You know what I love is it's very interesting what you said a little bit earlier about how you got into the position of executive director. It's very similar to your path, isn't it, Teresa?
Oh yeah. That
right?
I just happened to be in the right place at the right time and took over, and then all of a sudden, yeah, exactly.
So it's almost like I didn't really have time to think about it, you know? I mean, it was really like, and I didn't have a kid at that time. And so I was able to really devote 60 hours, 70 hours a week to it, because for a long time, Joni was only in 1 day a week and it was just me. We only had 2 staff people other than our technical director that we shared with Aquinas.
Wow.
And I think that's part of it. I didn't have time to think about it. It was kind of like when COVID hit for us. We never stopped to go, should we do this? Should we produce? Should we create this? It was just, what are we going to do? And we never stopped to question if, it was what. And I think that was the thing. I loved Circle so much personally and professionally that I was going to do everything within my power to keep the doors open.
That's such a lesson. I think it's such a lesson. You can sit here and go, this is the plan. This is what I'm going to do. And then life goes, really? Well, I'm going to give you this. And now you're going to have to, you know.
Oh, yeah. It just goes out. And that's actually been the biggest thing for me personally for COVID. That's been great. I'm a little bit of a control freak. And it's really taught me to go, sometimes you need to give it up to a higher power. Whatever that is, the universe, whatever it is, sometimes you can only do what you can do. And at a certain point, you have to let go and roll and just roll.
It's very artist way, which
it is. Seriously, all these things, as you get older, you realize all of these things that informed your process and how you got here and how you approach things and how you do it. That was incredibly helpful for me.
Yeah.
In every aspect. I still have that book. I still go back and refer to it, and the journals I kept during that time. And I'm a horrible journaler. That's the only time I did journaling and was productive about it.
So do you think that your approach as an actor has changed based on because you do get on the boards occasionally. I think Porcelain, was that the last time we saw you on stage?
Yeah. I did something with actors last summer, but
Okay. Does your approach as an actor, or how you are as an actor, has that changed as you've become an administrator and in that environment, or do you just go back into your old process and you're happy with that?
I think if I can get out of my head, I can. I feel like I've had so many great opportunities as a performer, but I think that definitely as I got more life experience, not just stage experience, but life experience, that's what's informed me the most, I think, as far as being a better performer or, making better choices as an actor. Kind of living life has made the biggest impact for me, even more than administratively. The thing that's hard now being an administrator is it's hard for me to turn that off and just be a performer. It's much easier to do that at other theaters than it is at Circle.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And depending on some directors are really good about that. They're really good, like, when I'd be working at Circle, and they would be really keep that separate and not, go into it. And then others would be like, oh, I'm thinking of it right now and you're right here, so I'm going to go there. And then that was the biggest challenge. But I don't know. I mean, I still feel like I have the same process I always had. I just feel like I'm more aware and make choices where sometimes I think it was more reactive and not actually making choices, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Totally. Well, on making choices, that is a segue to how now with all of the changes with, you know, the Me Too, the diversity, and also the pandemic. How do you go about choosing your season now? Has that changed very much?
Oh God, yes.
Before you answer that question, I just want to put out that just to come full circle, pun intended. Kathy Gibson just shared, Ms. Tepper is being modest. She really pulled Circle Theater out of a hole and drove it towards success. Bravo, diva. So
she's gonna make me cry.
Yay.
She is also one of those people who really had a huge impact on me. And I'm not saying this isn't the case now, but we all were really fortunate about when we were doing theater and when we started, because we had really great role models.
Yeah.
And I had phenomenal role models, and Kathy was absolutely one of them. She was such a professional. And I remember the first community show I did, and I was in the ensemble and she was the lead. It was Evita. And I was just so blown away by her. She came in, she had her music stand, she had her score, she had it highlighted. You know, I didn't have a clue. I'd done stuff at CC or G. And, but she was like the deal. I mean, but I knew her before then, and she was very approachable. And so it wasn't like it was this big intimidating thing, but she really set the bar, you know, of like, and people like Jean Bailey, when I was working backstage and crewing, and I remember Jean Bailey like knew every person's name, every person on crew, everything. She was just the nicest person, and it was very genuine. So I had these great people to really learn from, of how you treat people, what it is to be professional, and just the sheer talent of these people as well, just sitting in the wings watching them.
I don't know if you saw Barb's comment there that you are a role model for many too, including her. So
don't do this. I'm gonna start crying.
And then speaking of talent, we have an obnoxious question from Fred Stella, who says, how come I've never been cast in a Circle show? And I think the answer to that question is, have you ever auditioned?
That was going to be my answer, because I don't really remember him coming in to audition for anything.
He always likes to go for those shows that last like one weekend.
That's what I would say. That's what I know about him. That's why he does actors and, you know, Jewish theater, because it doesn't take up all of his life.
Well, you know what? As I've gotten older, I appreciate that, because I know the last few shows that I did at Actors, everybody'd be so sad. Oh, I wish we had one more weekend. I was like, I don't. and it wasn't because I didn't love it and didn't have a great experience. It was just that I was just sitting there thinking, I got laundry. I can get to this report I have to do now. You know, it's just, as you get older, your priorities shift a little bit. And when we were younger, we would go show to show. And it was also, you know, but you learn those people who you develop those relationships with and that you get close to, you maintain those outside of a show. And you might not see them all the time, but when you do, you pick up right where you left off.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot.
Mickey Maxwell is watching. We were just talking about you, Mickey, before.
Oh my gosh.
In the green room. We were talking about Mickey in the green room. So going
and Jordan just surfaced and said, love you so much, Lynn. Such a role model for me as well, Jordan.
Oh my gosh. How fun. You got a love fest going on.
Yeah.
There's Mickey. Yay, Mickey. So going back to the question, because we don't have that much more time, what is the process now of you've picked a really great season for next year. I've heard a few little chattering about, you know, why this, why that. I am curious about it. I mean, I love what you picked for next season.
It's really collaborative. I mean, obviously we kind of are in a sweet spot in sense of programming, because we've always considered ourselves to be kind of in between Actors and Civic. And we do always try to think about having something for everybody, not just the audience, but for the people participating. And so when we think of diversity, we think about it also in age and things like that as well. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things, you know, we did Gin Game last summer, and one of the actors from it said, you know, thank you so much for doing this, because as an older actor, we don't get very many opportunities.
Yeah.
And I don't think people really realize that. And that's one thing that we try to stay conscious of is, yes, we want to see, you know, more diversity in terms of people of color and different disabilities or abilities and things like that. But ageism is also one of those things. And but it's very collaborative. We have a committee. I get a lot of input from our executive committee, if not the whole board. It's very collaborative, and maybe it's because I come from a place of being a performer first. That's how I work best, is I get, because there's opinions and information that I get that I might not otherwise see or think about. But it is hard. It's really, really, really hard, especially with social media. I just feel like just when you feel like you're doing the right thing, you get blindsided and hit, and and I think that's just the nature of where we're at, and everybody has an opinion, and a lot of that is the social media thing. When you're not talking to somebody face to face, you do and say things you probably wouldn't normally do,
right?
Or you might actually have a discussion and not make assumptions and that kind of thing. But it's hard, it's tricky. But even before all of this, everything has changed so much in terms of entertainment and everything that I felt like even 5 years ago, every year was reinventing the wheel, because what would work for marketing or whatever the year before wasn't working now. What worked for an annual appeal didn't work. You have to keep, again, I guess in a way that's good, because you keep evolving and growing, and you have to realize it's actually always in process. It's not, and then it never gets stagnant that way too. So it forces you to think outside the box and to keep re-envisioning. And when you're doing that, it's good, because then you kind of get reinvigorated. I mean, I've been at Circle for over 20 years. So it's good for me, I guess, in a way, because otherwise I'd get bored and I probably still wouldn't be here.
Yeah, as a creative person, it's helpful to be, and it's probably helpful to be a creative person in a position like that too. I mean, I know when they hired me for the Children's Museum, it was because I was a creative person. They didn't want an academic. They didn't want an administrator as much as they wanted somebody who had administrative skills, but that creative piece. And I think that's that's a large part of your success, is having both those.
Yeah, I've always thought of Circle, like you said, it's like in between actors and Civic, because Civic, even though Civic is getting a little more edgy, I mean, the biggest edgy thing they did was 25 years ago, 30 years ago. Oh my God. A chorus line, which was like, crazy that they did that. But I've always thought of Circle doing general mainstream, if you will, that the general public will like, and then doing something that will really, speak to an audience that is looking for something different. Like you've done Sunday in the Park with George, and you've done Harold and the Boys, different things like that. And then you're doing Music Man, which also opens itself up to a very diverse cast.
It does. And it's also, I feel like those older musicals get a bad rap.
I do too.
And I know that part of it, honestly, is I think they're longer and audiences aren't used to sitting for as long anymore. But I also think it's bringing it to people who are going to see it who've never seen it before or haven't seen the movie. I mean, it's been a while, and I think you have a new young director who's going to kind of re-envision it. And so you're going to see it in a different way that you've never seen it before. I mean, it's not like he's not changing it and setting it in a different thing and all that. But I mean, just having somebody younger who doesn't know all this, I don't want to baggage that goes with it or whatever, but who is seeing it, you're seeing it through fresh eyes.
Yeah.
So he's going to pull things out of it that you might never have seen before. And I think I like that.
Stratford did a very different version of it just before the pandemic. So I like that people are looking, they did a very different version of Oklahoma.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I think it gives you an opportunity for a new generation to do it. And then there are some shows, like you said, we'll do stuff that like be doing Little Shop and stuff like that. But then on the other hand, like a few years ago when we did Fun Home, we kind of got some grief for it because everybody's like, that's an actor show. And I said, it is. But you know what else? There's going to be people who are going to see it who would never have seen it now. Yeah. And it needs to be, and these are the people that need to see it, because this is about a family. Yeah. It's about more than just you know, what is on the surface. There's a lot more there. And if we do it, more people, a bigger audience, and people who normally would never see it are now going to see it. And I don't know that it's going to change their world, but maybe you can look at things a little differently.
So Lynn, before we go, I want to know, what has theater given you? What has theater done for you?
It was the first time I felt like I belonged.
Oh.
Up until then, I never felt like I fit anywhere. And the thing that I felt so accepted, no matter how old I was taken seriously. I mean, I went from being the youngest person in the room to the oldest somehow, but I mean, I remember it was one of the first times I remember being taken seriously, like somebody valued what I had to say and what I brought to, and not to say I didn't get that at home. My parents were incredibly supportive people. And my dad was very much like, I don't care if, you know, he was like, you could be president if you want to. I mean, so there was never something I was lacking at home. It's just, it was within me. And I think part of it is that like I said, there was something there that I couldn't put a name to, put my finger on. And I think it brought me a way to express myself in a way I never could before. But it certainly made me feel like it was a home. You know, we always talk about the family we're born with and then our chosen family. And it definitely became my chosen family. And I think it always will be, even if I'm not working at Circle anymore. I think these are people who have been the most influential and the most positive for me in my life. And it brought me the most joy and just the best life experiences ever.
Wonderful.
You can't trade. There's nothing that compares.
That's great.
Well, I put up the links for Circle Theater. People go and check it out, support it.
It's Giving Tuesday, right? Was that yesterday?
No, it's next week.
No, it's at the next week. Yeah, but we're doing Giving Tuesday all month long.
Yes, good. I'm with you on that. I did my post
Giving November. It's
Giving November. Well, for theaters, it's Giving November, Giving December, Giving January, Giving February. Just keep giving. Francesca just said, this makes me cry happy tears. She appreciated your sharing that. We had a great group of people. We didn't get to our last question, so I'll ask it really quick because I'm just curious. How is it like, I mean, you're balancing not just administrative and theatrical, but you're also a mom and a spouse. And how has that influenced your life, being a mom and being an administrator?
Honestly, I think it's made me a better administrator and a better mom, because the two skill sets of, you know, I didn't realize even before I had a kid, my administrative style was very much like a mom. And I think being an older mom was the best thing, because certainly when I was younger, I would not have been as good of a mom, and I still make tons of mistakes, but it's hard. When she was younger, it was real hard to juggle and to be away. And there'd be times she would be clutching me going, Mommy, please don't go. Please don't go.
Yeah.
Now she's like, Mommy, please go. Please go. No, but I mean, it's been great. And it's, again, it's like, I've been able to, this world for her that she may or may not decide she wants to go into, but the people she's met through it and the way she thinks and the world it's opened her up to.
Yeah.
And the way we theater people are with people in general and our mindset is, I think has empowered her quite a bit. And my husband's in theater. So, I mean, you know, but he's supportive. I mean, they get it. So they're supportive. I don't have to, you know, it's something I don't have to fight with, but I do feel like they both certainly inform each other. You know, when you're creative, you need that outlet to be happy in your life, regardless of what your circumstances are.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like it's made me a better administrator.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Lynne Brown-Tepper.
Thank you guys. It was fun.
Yeah, so fun.
So grateful, Lynne. So great. Schmoopy. We didn't call each other Schmoopy.
My Schmoopy.
That's our
it's
little
so good to see you guys. I want to see you guys in person now, but that'll be a little bit.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Send her to the green room. I think you cut off your last words, but that's okay.
That happens a lot. I never quite get it.
The timing right on it.
I also want to speak to real quick supporting theater. Kevin says, I like your owl necklace.
Oh, thanks.
This week you directed a production for Ebony Road Players that Edie Evans Hyde, who we tried having on, and we're going to try to get her back on. She had tech issues with us, is performing this Thursday, tomorrow night, and people can check it out. I'm going to put the link in the chat of where to go. I think they can watch it through streaming, correct?
I think they see it there in person, and then the classes are streaming. So, but it's free to the public in the building.
Okay.
So we'll have to, I mean, just put the link and they can learn more about it. But it's about Anne and Emmett, Anne Frank and Emmett Till. It's an incredibly, sadly, timely conversation. It's important work. We've done it 4 times already, the show. There's interest in doing it more. It's a powerful, powerful piece. So thanks for bringing it up. And Patrick has come to my aid since I can't be in Grand Rapids to finish it off. So
doing some tech for it. So it is a very powerful piece. It's
heavy,
very important with everything that's going on. Some repeated stories of life today, which is sad. So with that note, happy note, we take next week off for the holiday season.
The holiday season.
Thanksgiving Eve. Isn't it the most popular bar night?
Yeah, but that won't happen for me.
So, as we always say,
gotta go.
Bye, everybody.